Hi, folks. You're Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about how everything, including community libraries, something that all our taxes pay for, has been completely hijacked by the race, gender, LGBTQ hustling activist class. It's done without our consent or our agreement or foreknowledge. And it's part of the overall globalist cabal campaign to sort of undermine Western society and undermine the family and undermine, white social structures and so on. So anyway, look, this community library. It's not too far away from where I live. And I don't go into the library that much, but they had quite a good history and political biography section. Pretty much all the American presidents and the major British prime ministers, you could get a biography on them, more than one. I wouldn't have described it as an activist sort of hothouse or anything like that, this library. A lot of gay and lesbian people worked there, but it seemed to be fairly tame in terms of activism and propaganda. There was some, but it wasn't as brazen and blatant as it is in some others I've been to. Now, this is probably more in the outer suburban areas where, that sort of activism isn't as pronounced as it would be, say, closer into the city of Sydney. Anyway, the library that was sort of had a very had a look like it needed to be remodeled and renovated and repainted and that sort of thing. So when it was said that the library was closing for a little while to redo it, I don't think anyone, myself included, thought it was that big a deal. I was like, okay, fine. Well, it kind of needs it. Was looking a little, the paint did need to be redone and so on. The computer screens are a bit on the old side. So anyway, it's redone. They've clearly thrown quite a bit of money at it. But it wasn't redone as in, more modern look or just, again, the fresh paint or something like that. It was done, it's got to be a gay lesbian interior decorating outfit that advised on it, because there's rainbow fucking flags and signs and everywhere. There's non-stop radical propaganda, radical feminist propaganda, all men are Nazis and all women are being oppressed, and some very sort of classic Marxist type ideological propaganda all over the place. They've now got their drag queen story hour and so on. Actually, they don't. That's not a drag queen story. They've got a very gay guy reading the stories. That's about us as close they'd want to get around here, but all around there, which isn't far from where I live. This is still sort of 95% white around here. So there's a few things that I know. So I went, after it was redone, or a little while after the library was redone, I went in to see what else was different. Had they got more book titles there, for example? So I went to look at the political biographies, which is history and the politics, something that I'm interested in. Pretty much every American president is gone. There's Obama and Clinton, sort of that. So the left's darlings are there, but everything else is gone. So the Theodore Roosevelt, George Washington, Andrew Jackson, all that's nothing. Not a thing. If you wanted to know about the American Revolution, the American presidents, the founding fathers, the Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, all that sort of stuff, which I think is hugely relevant in modern, certainly modern historical terms, nothing. Zip, nada, zilch. So now British prime ministers, again, hugely influential in the modern world. We're talking about Gladstone, Palmerston, William Pitt in particular. Some hugely influential figures that David Lloyd George, list goes on, of people that had prime ministers that had had a huge contribution to the modern world and to the world we live in today. Nothing. Zip. Winston Churchill was the only one that got a gig, and no one else. You think they'd have to? Oh no! Winston Churchill and Tony Blair. Tony Blair, the darling of the left. However, and I went to the history section then, and British and American history, and white history generally, has almost vanished from the shelves. The French Revolution, there's fuck all there in terms of white or European history. The supposed history on Indigenous, Aboriginal Australians, that's now got almost an entire shelf to itself. Nelson Mandela's got a whole shelf. Gandhi's got a shelf. Every other imaginable black person has ever existed. Slavery. Here's the only thing that they will cover is the negative history, slavery. And again, there's not a single book there on Arabic slavery or Barbary slavery or the slavery that other, the North American Indians practiced on each other and that the blacks in Africa nothing like that. No. None of that is there. The only slavery that ever existed in the world is white people enslaving black folks and the horrendous, evil Hitler, Nazi, fascist, swastika practice of slavery, where white people just roam the length of the breath, just rando grabbing black people out of their lounge rooms while they're watching their television and just took them into. No, that's the coverage is hysterical. There's books there, just picking them up and reading the dust cover. These books aren't even attempting minimally to be accurate. Their purpose is to deliver hysterical propaganda and lies and nothing else. So I came away deeply, deeply disappointed. So I made an inquiry, because the libraries in a certain sort of wider district or shire, there can be 10 libraries in the district. And usually there's a central library, as there is in this district. And that usually is 3-4 times bigger in sort of square footage, floor square footage, so they've got a lot more books. And so I made inquiries about various, again, the American presidents. So I just got a couple of American presidents and a couple of or a few British prime ministers just to see if there was biographies on them anywhere in the entire region. No, nothing. Not just this library, but nowhere. So they've cleaned this stuff out. Now, they used to have it because I've seen it. I've seen it there. So they've purposefully gone and picked out these books, such as American presidents and British prime ministers and so on, purposefully picked these out and got rid of them. Now, what did they do? They take them at the back and trash them, or I don't know, so sell them into secondhand bookshops. I don't know. Well, I don't know what they did, but they're all gone. And instead, we're regaled with the current propaganda. For example, LGBTQ, our struggled for equality and this sort of stuff. Feminist literature is now off the charts. There are entire sections, as in multiple shelves and an entire 6 foot tall stand, all of this. So the library has clearly just rejigged. They've reinvented reality in effect. That the white history of the world is gone, and they've brought it in its place. This insane Marxist bullshit propaganda. But who made that decision? Who signed off on that? I never wanted that. I never agreed. Did anybody agree to it? Did the taxpayer say, "Oh yeah, I want that. I want you to get rid of all the white history and put, there's black lesbian history in its place"? Did anyone ask for that? I don't think they did. If the people had been asked, there's no way they would have agreed to that. Anyway, so I went along to a book launch. Now, I've been to some of these feminist book launches in the past. My wife knew a lady who was involved in publishing and that sort of stuff, and so we used to get free ticket invites to some of those things. Some of which were very well catered for, by the way. Excellent wine and food. Anyway, this one wasn't in that league, but there's a woman who'd written a book, and how the fuck it got published is beyond me, but had written a book about how she and other women had imagined they'd been violently raped. This is not like date rape where everyone's getting all passionate and hot and they get horizontal and she changes her mind, or she had half a glass of wine too much. We're not talking about technical rape here. We're talking about the full-on business of, kick the door down, gun to the head, and the whole 9 yards. So, but it's about an imagined there. So no one's saying that did happen. There's any evidence. They imagined that it happened. And now someone goes to a book publisher, and this is a reputable book publisher, by the way. It was reputable at one time. Go to the reputable book publisher. No, look, I want to write this book. It's a feminist book. And how about me and these other women imagined we were raped, but there's no proof, evidence, or anything at all. So we just imagined it. And go, oh yeah, wow, what a great idea. Oh, yeah, this will sell well. Oh, let's get on board with that one. So the book publishing company decides to publish it. And a couple of their publishing agent people from the book publishers come along to this fucking book launch. Now, I've got a problem with this book launch being done in a public community library. This is not what the library is for. It's not for doing drag queens or this or that. It's a community library. So, if you're going to turn it over to pumping out political propaganda and anti-white, anti-straight white male propaganda, that's not got no place here. All of the imagined perpetrators were all straight white males. Was there any black or brown people or anything? No. Straight white males and Christians as well. Hey, whoa, let's go the whole 9 yards. And so I was rather interested in how the publisher would sort of justify doing it. And the publisher actually got up, or one of the women, a middle-aged, very feminist-looking woman, by the way, got up and made a short speech and said that, look, this is all, but they've got it in the non-fiction, so they're claiming it's truth. They're claiming it's fact in this book, which is, to me, it's a novel, it's fiction, pure fiction, but they're passing it off as fact. And I was interested how they would get around the fact that it was all imagined and wasn't actual. And so, and I've seen this trick that they used before. I've seen it around, this justification. So they're saying, well, the book may not be factual, may not be true. There may be no facts in it at all. But to the women who wrote it or contributed, it's emotionally true. So it's emotionally true, not factually true. So meaning women can claim and assert anything, and it's still true because their emotions somehow, what is this? What is this bullshit? And so I got sidled up to the publisher's agent there and said, oh, look, emotionally true, that's interesting. And I pretended to be interested and said, so it's ideologically true. Yes, hit the nail on the head, Billy Bob. So here's this pumping out ideology and fantasy as truth and fact when the authors concede that they only imagined it, but where the publishers pass it off as a truthful, factual account of something that happened. Now imagine women and young women particularly getting hold of this and reading this and identify with the character there. So they're all running around madly, desperately trying to get into difficult situations with straight white male Christians. Entrapment. What are we talking about here? This is crazy. It's madness. And not only should something like that not be published, that propaganda bullshit, but community libraries shouldn't be giving themselves over to releasing nonsense like that and putting it on the shelf. At the same time, they're deleting and eradicating white history. You've been a Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening.